What's up? I see our guest is here today. So excited. All right, let me just add her on real fast. Welcome to Minding My Business, where we get massive shiznit done, and you are here to elevate your business, your mindset, and your life. And every Tuesday, we bring on a powerhouse guest to share their amazingness and drop them diamonds on you guys. So welcome, Limor. What's up,
Hi.
girl? So thank you so much for being on my business. This is really, we bring on every Tuesday a powerhouse guest to just celebrate you and all of your accomplishments. And besides the business, like who you are as a human being and all of the amazing things that you've been able to accomplish in life. So welcome. Thank you for being on.
Thank you for having me. This is so nice.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll get yours started soon too, right?
Yes. I already told the girls that I spoke to you that we're going to start one, so we're excited.
Good. So for those of you who don't know Limor, she is a celebrity injector. She is voted top 100 best of the best. She's the owner of Clinic USA, which I will be going to today after this live stream. And you also have the Clinic USA as an aesthetic playground and training facility. So what got you into the line of work that you're into today? Like, where did that, because when I met you, I could tell like you're so passionate about what you do.
Thank you. So I started back in like 2002. My family owned a med spa that I opened with them, and I became an esthetician, and it just kind of opened my eyes to this whole world that I would have never considered, because growing up, like, you were supposed to go to college and then you graduated and you were either a doctor or a lawyer. That was it. Those were the options. So when I got into the spa world, I was like, wait, this is amazing. Like, I loved it. I loved doing facials. I loved doing body treatments. Like, it was so relaxing for me. Like, I just was like, why would I do anything else? But then, after a couple of years, it got a little boring, and I'm like, what else can I do with this like talent that I have with my hands and like with my eyes, and like, what else can I do in aesthetics? And then my family like transitioned from a salon spa to a med spa. And we had a medical director, and he's like, why don't you go back to school? And I'm like, oh, I never thought of that. I didn't even know that that was a possibility. I was like 25. I don't know anything. So I went back to school. I mean, it took a long time to go back to school. It wasn't that, but I went back to school. I got my nursing. Then, 4 years later, I graduated with my NP, and here we are. Wow. That's the short version.
Yeah, right. They're always the short version.
The abridged version for you.
Now, I always like to know, because like, this platform, I mean, yes, we love our men. A lot of men, they tap into these shows. They get a lot of insight from the women, but this was really creative for women that are trying to pursue their passion and really maybe need those words of encouragement. So when you are on this journey, because it is a journey, every career an expert in there's a lot of things that are going to test you, and if you're going to stay on course. When you are going through these things of like to building to what you have, because you have a beautiful facility that you've built. I've been there. I'm going to go there again today. What were some of like the things that really kept you on course when you maybe doubted yourself, or you felt like questioning your capabilities of success?
Oh my God, there was such a long road that I didn't even want to go to, after I finished, nursing school, I was so disillusioned with the medical profession and working in a hospital. And I did not want to go back to school. I was like adamant. I started doing eyelash extensions back in 2005. And I was doing brow tattoos, and I was like, I'm just going to do this. I'm not going back to school. I don't care about being an NP anymore, because that was like initially the whole reason I went to nursing school, was to do that. And my best friend that I went to nursing school with was like, you're going. We're going together. We're doing it together. You're going. And I was so like, I just didn't want to do it. And she forced me to do it. Thank God. I thank God every day that she she kind of forced me to do it, and she led me on my way. But there were so many times where I was like, am I doing the right thing? I mean, I remember my third semester of nursing school, I like cried every day. I'm like, why did I do this? This was like the worst idea ever. And I actually, even throughout working in the hospital, everyone that worked with me knew, I'm like, I'm going to do Botox. I'm going to do Botox. Everyone was sick of me. They were sick of me. They were like, okay, whatever, you're gonna do Botox. But I really just, that's all I wanted to do. I was like on a mission. So there was nothing that was gonna deter me from it. I mean, it was a long road. It was definitely, I
Yeah.
mean, it took me, graduating from NP school, it took me 9 months to find my first job.
Wow. Yeah.
Even with all my experience and aesthetics and everything, like nobody wanted to hire someone without experience. So, you know, it took a while, but I was on a mission.
Yeah, that's the thing too, is it's like, you get out of these professions and then they're like, oh no, you have to have experience. You're like, well, how do I get experience? Hello?
Right.
Like
Right.
I went spent all this money, all of this,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's the first line of success. It's just getting somebody to like bring you on and trust you.
Yeah, and
Um,
and let me tell you, and I see people now, that I train, and they're like, "Oh, I want to get a job." And I'm like, "Listen, just take whatever you can get." I mean, my first job in aesthetics was a nightmare. I hated every minute of it, but I was like, not in the hospital. That's all I cared about. I was like, I'm working. I can get another job in a year. I just have to stick it out for a year, but it was torture. I had to get up at 5 a.m. I hate waking up early. I had to be in surgery. I was like, this is the worst thing ever, but I didn't care because I was going to get somewhere else. I was like
yeah.
using it as a vehicle to get to another place. That's all I cared about. I mean, I really was just so focused. I think anyone that knew me on the way was like, okay, like she's either psychotic or she's gonna get somewhere.
But I feel like meeting people that are high-end achievers like yourself, you have to, in a sense, like be such a visionary and to, like you said, it's almost like training. Like I hired a coach and it's like 5 more reps, 3 more reps, you get to 2 more, it's
Yeah.
like 4 more reps. I'm like, what the hell? Like the psychology of like the mental strength. And so I want to get into that
Yeah.
question because you dropped a few diamonds. You call them dropping them diamonds. You dropped a few diamonds about like even the mentality you had, like, let me just get through one more year. Like, let me,
Yeah.
like, what were some powerful tools for you when it comes to mental strength? Not only in that journey, because challenges and obstacles don't end. I feel like they become
Right.
more expansive the more successful you become.
Yeah. Um, some of the, mental tools or whatever you would want to call it. I mean, I really just had my eye on the prize. I mean, there was definitely points that I'm like, do I even want to do this anymore? Is it worth it? Is it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, everyone has that doubt, and then you have imposter syndrome on top of it. You're like, oh, I suck. I don't even know what I'm doing. Like all those thoughts go through my mind all the time, even now. So, I mean, you just have to really just believe in yourself, look at your work. I really was just, because I was in aesthetics for so long, since 2002. So I really was, I was very determined. I think those were the things and I'm also a Scorpio. And if I put my mind to something, that's it. There's nothing that's gonna stop me. I wish I had more of that for other things.
Yeah.
But I just really was I don't even know what went through my mind. Honestly, like now looking back, I'm like, how did I even get here? I don't know.
How do you,
So,
so, okay, how do I get there? It's a journey. Sometimes all I gotta do is just think of that today, let's,
yeah, I
accomplish
think
today.
it was definitely like taking one day at a time sometimes was the key, not really thinking too far ahead, just getting through the day, getting through the next thing, just having like small goals, like short-term goals, not getting too overwhelmed with things. Even when I started my last job, which was a very, a prestigious med spa, that wasn't easy either. I started as a new person. There was no one around. I was by myself. And it was hard because I was a new person, so they were kind of like, I don't want to say picking on me, but it was like a little bit of hazing going on, and you just have to kind of, all right, am I in the right place? Like, I mean, I definitely wanted to quit many times, but eventually it worked out. I proved myself, and I kept going. So
When you do you would you gosh, I have like 3 questions in one. Like I have 3 questions in one. Because the show is called Minding My Business for a reason. It was inspired because so many people are so busy focusing on everybody else's stuff, but only like what, and sometimes you don't know like your big picture, but you at least know like what you might be interested in. And those are
right.
specific questions that were planted and seeded inside of you. How were you able to really just mind your business? Because you mentioned like there was hazing going on, you were at a place that was just you, because now you've built this amazing team, you've got a beautiful facility, you've got, you know, you have people working under you and with you and by your side. How were you able, even to this day, to still just kind of like mind your business, eliminate distractions, and just stay in your lane?
I mean, it's hard, you know. I have things that I'm working on now that I struggle with. You know, I want to go out, I want to go to the beach, you know, and in my mind, I'm like, no, but you have to finish this PowerPoint. You know what I mean? Like you have this presentation, or you have, you know, I'm working on an app, and I'm like, no, you have to work on that. Like you can't go outside, you can't go to dinner, you know? It's like so many things that I want to do, and I just have to find a balance. Like you have to just find a balance so that, you know, you can live your life, because there's always going to be another thing. There's always going to be more stuff that I want to achieve. Sometimes I'm like, why am I like this? Why can't I just be like happy with whatever is going on? No, I'm always like, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? So,
and that's why you've gotten to where you are, and you're going to continue.
Yeah.
Because, and the thing is, like, we think it's just us, but there's so many people, especially if you're, you know, trying to live life in your full potential. And that's why I wanted, you know, to have you on, because it's like, there's a mentality behind it. Like before you're a business, you're a woman, you know, like you're a person. And these things that you create, it had to first start in your mind. Like it just doesn't happen like overnight. And so there's
I mean, even, you know, people come into my facility and they're like, did you design this yourself? And I'm like, yeah, it's like my brain exploded in here, you know, and it's just like fun, whimsical, like very Alice in Wonderland. But it's nothing like my house, right? Like my house is very like one hotel, like very like calm. And so it's just funny. Like you can have so many, you know, facets to your personality, and like this is a fun place to come, you know?
Super fun. I was like, is this a candy store? No.
Candy store
for your
candy store for adults.
Yeah. For your aesthetics.
I know you asked a question before, and I wanted to add that, you know, my passion has always been teaching and mentoring. I feel like because I've been in this business for so long, and some people are just getting into it and they have a lot of questions. So we are actually working, you know, to add to our business model some, like, you know, mentoring, coaching, because so many people come in and they don't know. They have no idea. They don't know how to get into it, what to expect, like what's normal, what's not normal, you know, or like standard in the industry. So, you know, that's like definitely a passion of mine. I'm actually speaking at a conference next week about, one of my talks is about business. And the other one is, you know, something more medical, about, you know, doing jaw lines and things like that. But I really love the business talk of it, because it's something that I see a lot of people getting into the med spa business and they have no idea what they're getting themselves into. And I went through it. I was myself that person that was like, oh my God, I'm going to be so busy counting my money. Like, I'm not going to have time for anything else, you know? Meanwhile, it was like a disaster from A to Z. So it was like, I can give people some advice of like what to do and what not to do, because it took us many years to figure it out, and a lot of money. So that's like my passion, is like helping people not do that.
Yeah, course correct. And speaking of which, actually, I did write this down this morning, because I typically don't ask this question, but I was like, I feel like I wanted to ask it for you. And this is like a perfect kind of flow into it, is like, when you are, when you have so many things going on, and this kind of goes back to like the discipline you mentioned earlier about that discipline. There's so many things that you're creating, and you're a speaker, and you running this facility, you're mentoring, you're teaching, but you're also the practitioner. You know, people come to you to get the work done. How are you able to operate at high levels without bringing your personal stuff into it?
I think you just get into the zone when you're like, when I'm injecting someone, I just get into the zone, and I mean, hours can go by and I don't notice it. So I'm just very focused on that. I mean, there's always, you know, sometimes things that happen, and you know, they definitely affect me during the day, you know, and I go into the room and I'm trying to just focus on the patient. It's kind of almost like an escape, you know, when I'm working.
Call them like healthy distractions. Like,
yeah,
sometimes
definitely.
you take like that time out. What are some of your daily like non-negotiables that if you know you don't do them, you're like not in the same energy. Like your energy isn't as sharp, your mind isn't as sharp. Like what are some like, do you have a morning routine, a night routine? Do you have like something that you're like, this is not negotiable?
Definitely, I think working out is a big thing, something to focus your energy on, and like whether it's, good or bad energy, like you just kind of get yourself into a better mental place. So working out has been, I'm honestly so lazy. I hate working out, but I like how I feel after. So I do it. Um, and then, that's definitely a non-negotiable. Another non-negotiable is, like just relaxing. Like at the end of the day, just, I come home, I usually like shower, I decompress. I kind of put my phone away. Like I put my phone on the charger. I don't look at it for like 2 hours just because I'm trying to not really, I don't want to give so much of myself to other people because people DM you 24 hours a day. There's no boundaries for people. Yeah. So I just try to create boundaries in that aspect,
Mm-hmm.
And just kind of try to enjoy my life and not be working 24/7, even though my brain is like, you gotta get this done, you gotta get this done. But I try to like tone it down. Once I get home, I'm like, all right, I have like 2 hours before I go to bed that I just want to like, make food and like relax and like not think about anything. Maybe have a glass of wine, you know.
Yeah, because I know you're an auntie now. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And you do make time, from what I've been watching in your stories and from the moment I met you, that you make time to actually take breaks, to make time for family, to make that, like, how are you able to, I guess, somewhat fit it in or prioritize? Because the biggest thing I find that people say, especially as they keep trying to climb the ladder of success, is that they lose themselves throughout the process. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Have you ever been?
I mean, I could definitely see that happening. I mean, if I didn't, consciously force myself to put my phone away, it's like you get and you fall into a rabbit hole. You just never relax. Your brain is always, working 24/7. Sometimes I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and I'm like, oh my God, I need to add this to this, or like, I want to do this now. Like I'm like, do I write this down? Do I pick up my phone in the middle of the night and like put a note? I have to just like stop myself from doing these things. But I really just think that it's a discipline to force yourself to, be with friends and not talk about work, or, even when you go out, right? So I'll go out with my friends, and when someone introduces me, oh, don't tell people I do injections or Botox or whatever, because then they're automatically like, oh, I what do you think about my lips? And I'm like, no, I don't want to talk about that right now. I'm like 3 drinks in and people are asking me about like their face. I'm like, I don't know. And it's dark. I'm like, yeah, call my office, But I definitely, even on Instagram, if someone, messages, I send like a text, and it's basically like, please message the office. I don't, this is not like a HIPAA compliant app where people are not going to see your pictures or your messages. So I'd rather you, message the office and let them take care of it. But you have to set boundaries. Otherwise, people will literally crawl into every minute of your day.
Yeah. Have you always been like this? Have you always been very good with boundaries, or is it something you had to learn?
No, I'm terrible.
Even till this day?
I'm terrible. I'm good at work, but otherwise, no, I'm terrible. I need to work on other like types of boundaries for sure. Like professional boundaries, I'm great. Any other boundaries, no, terrible.
What do you think the difference is between those? Because I would feel like a lot of people would think business boundaries because we'd want to please people to profit or to scale, versus like personal. Like, what do you think the difference is between those two?
I think in business, it's like something that the way that I guess I grew up, where I saw there were successful people and they had like these boundaries, and I was like, okay, that's smart. I see like why you're doing that. And it almost like the boundaries also kind of create like a little bit of a need, right? So like when you set a boundary, people are like, oh, I need to get a hold of someone. Like, if you let everyone come in, let's say on DMs or whatever, they're going to be like, oh, it's easy to get a hold of her. So it's almost like creating a challenge for people, they're like, oh, okay, now I have to call the office, right? Because she's big in a challenge. In terms of like my personal life, like there's just like I'm getting better, but you know, if someone asks me to like family, you know, like it's very hard to set boundaries with family or like friends. You know, I always want to help people. I'm a very generous person. Sometimes, you know, my friends will say that I'm too generous. Like I'm the person that sees every homeless person and gives them money. I'm like the worst or the best. I don't know.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was like, maybe it's a good thing, you know, you just
Yeah, it's good. I mean, I'm like always so like I give them money and like in the car and I'll roll my window down and I'll give them money and I'm just like so like sometimes I'll even give them like water or if I have food or, you know, I'm just
I was
like
just gonna say, I was like, did you ever think of maybe just like getting food in the car and just
I do. If I have a new bottle of water, I give it to them. Like, because in my mind, I'm like, I'm so lucky to be where I am. And I've been so lucky in my life to be supported by different people, like my family and my friends. And, you know, these people, they don't have anyone. And you know, what is it going to hurt me to give them $3 or $5 or whatever I have, you know? So that's the way I think. But I know a lot of people who are not like that. You know, they look at me and they'll be in the car with me and they're like, are you crazy? I'm like, no, why? What is it hurting me? Oh, because they're gonna spend it on alcohol. Okay, that makes them happy. What is it?
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't matter to me.
I think I always say like you gotta like discern, you know, sometimes like feel called to and then sometimes I don't, you know, like I don't know, I just you kind of go with what feels right for you. If it makes you feel good, because contributing back just comes in so many different ways. And like you mentioned, like you give a lot, like you give do you feel like that personality trait is what's also like being of service
Yeah,
has had a big contribution to your success?
yeah, because I think people sense it. You know, they see that I'm. You know, I would say I have very giving hands, right? So like I was an esthetician, so I would do massages and facials and body treatments and you know, I work with my hands, so like they're very healing. So that to me, it's like a giving thing. So, of course, like that's gonna make a difference in the service that I'm providing, right? Because I care
Mm-hmm.
for the most part.
For the most part. Get out of my office.
Yeah, sometimes I'm like, oh my God, please, this person needs to leave. But for the most part, like 99% of the time, I'm very like generous and giving and like, you know, the girls get mad at me because they're like, why'd you give that person a discount? Like, I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, I just felt like I wanted to.
Yeah, and you guys do not go to our office and ask for a discount. Like, do not expect things for free if
Do
you're
not
watching.
expect anything. I don't give, actually, I've gotten so much better at that. Really, I have.
I
But
did.
the girls would disagree with me.
I watched one of your reels. I was cracking up. It was like of you, and I think it's your personal assistant, or maybe your
Yeah.
I don't know the verb. So sorry if
Oh,
okay. So she's like, you're like, shut up. No, you shut up. It's like when you're telling your client they don't need any
yeah.
work, perfect, and she's like, stop. You got to make money.
Yeah, literally. That's our life every day. That's why we're starting a podcast.
Yay!
We have like there's three of us here. So you know, we just have a very fun dynamic that is sometimes annoying, but for the most we're like sisters, which it shouldn't be that way because I'm their boss technically, but everyone makes fun of that term because I'm not really a boss. I'm just like a coworker for you.
Yeah. I mean, do you feel like, because I'm the same way, I got to my personal assistants, they're more remote though, because everything's like online.
Yeah.
But I feel like that makes a big difference though, as far as like the relationship for the loyalty in the long run.
Well, I mean, these girls, they've told me multiple times, like, if you didn't have money to pay me, I'd work for you for free. Like, how many bosses do you know that their employees would say that about them? You know, so obviously, I'm doing something right.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, you have to have that dynamic. I think it's important, but you got to figure out what works for you too. And I think I always say like never below, never above, like we're side by side.
Right. I mean, I always said like we're on a team, we're on the same team, we have the same goals. I don't really like job titles, to be honest. Like even sometimes when I say, oh, my assistant, like I don't like saying that because it's like, yeah, she is my assistant, but there's almost like a negative connotation to that word, right? So I'm almost always trying to think like what other word can I use for this that people are going to understand? Like my associate is gonna contact you. I don't know. I'm working on it.
Words, who knows, you know, whatever. But I mean, as long as you guys know what your guys' communication is, I think. But I'm on the same page with you. I think that's why what makes a bigger difference is I work with like some really big, you know, achievers, and sometimes their employee turnover rate is very high.
Yeah.
And that's like more money out of pocket, because then you got to find other people, then you got to
train them, right?
And it's your time. Yeah.
Right. I think that if it's a very small team. I think that maybe if we had a larger team, of people, it would be a little bit harder to maybe all get along. It's a bunch of girls. I feel like there could be drama, right? But we've started having like weekly meetings so that we can address like any issues that we have, so that it doesn't get prolonged.
Hey, it's Tanya. I'm calling a quick timeout intermission huddle, so bring it in. I'm personally inviting you to our inner circle. It's our monthly VIP meetup with other achievers just like us. Each week, I'm teaching everything you're going to need in order to be successful, to step into the most elite version of yourself. I'm going to break this down play by play, the tools, the systems, the strategies, everything you're going to need in order to operate at higher levels mentally, physically, emotionally, and energetically. Look, we're in a season where the idea of full potential just isn't cutting it anymore. It's time to really be it now. So click the link in the show notes and I'll see you in the inner circle. Peace.
What would you say, like, in times where you are like, I call it like yellow lighting, when you're not like you just don't feel like doing it. You mentioned a few times on the process of the journey of the client from where you were to where you are today, but today with like this new vision that you're creating and your mentorship and your teachings on top of your speaking and starting your podcast, like, what are some things? I know we mentioned non-negotiables. Do you have any other like tools or tips that you use when you feel like you're just not fully operating at peak performance?
I think you need to be very forgiving with yourself, like you've gotten to a certain point, you're obviously doing something right. So if you feel like you need to just like take a break or not do it, maybe you'll be better focused after a break, I think it's hard to always be on and like working. So I think that's the same with like the balance, like the life work balance that we struggle with. I really, try to be forgiving with myself just if I don't want to do it, then I will figure out another day, another time. I have something going on Sunday. I haven't even looked at any of it. It's terrible, but I've been like procrastinating. And last night I'm sitting on my couch thinking like, you should be looking at this right now. And I'm like, no, I almost have like an internal struggle, like a conflict. Yeah. Like I have one of me is like, you need to do this, and the other one of me is like, no, you need to sit on the couch and like Netflix, So I have to like, sometimes I listen to this one and sometimes I listen to this one.
That's so funny you say that. I literally just presented in front of 200 people on just the topic of procrastination. And even though people because remember, this is also for like people watching, like ladies, gentlemen, like people that are massive amounts of things, like they still have these certain traits. It's just that they don't let it like control them.
Yeah. I mean, you're still human, right? Mm-hmm. So I try to limit distractions as much as I can. Mm-hmm. And I try to have a schedule of some kind, right? So like I'm off on Mondays and Wednesdays, and those are the days that I choose to work on things, run errands. I actually like had written four manuals for training, and that they took me 2 years to write. So it was a long road of like writing, rewriting. Now they're actually got copyrighted, so that's very exciting. Thank you. But I just I get to the point, when you procrastinate and then you're like, all right, I gotta get this done. That's it. That's how things get done.
Well, the biggest issue that I was telling people is like, when you procrastinate, it actually takes more energy out of you than actually just getting it done.
Yeah.
You know, because it's even when you're trying to relax, it's consuming you the whole
Well,
time.
that's what literally is going on
You
in my
can't
brain.
even enjoy Netflix.
I fall asleep within like 5 minutes of anything that I watch. So like I guess I'm so tired of thinking about what I have to do that I just fall asleep. But I mean, I obviously I do get things done. It's just that I'm like, why am I like this? Why am I doing this?
Yeah,
I should.
you mentioned a lot too that you also like you'll have like different during different I could say like different seasons of life, you know, whether you're deciding to transition into something else or whatever season you're going through, that you've had people in place also to kind of be there as that accountability or that support. Is that what you like? How would you talk about like mentorship? Because you're a mentor. So what is your level like? Let me just say it right. Like, what are your thoughts on mentorship? Boom.
Yeah. I think it's necessary, right? Because you need people that you look up to or that are going to motivate you
Are they
to
peeking?
get to the next level, right? So just no, they're not. There was people that walked in. Sorry, I was like, who? Why are there people here? So for example, I'll give you an example. When before I ever got into this business, you know, my mom was like, let's open a med spa. I'm like, okay, nobody knows anything. So we decided to open it, whatever. And in the interim of that, we had products that we were using in our spa for facials and body treatments and stuff. And I'll never forget, this lady came in, and her name is Mariette, and she was the rep and also married to the guy that owned the distributorship for the U.S. It was a French company.
Mm-hmm.
And she came in and we immediately just connected. I don't know why or what it was about her. She was just so elegant in the way that she spoke, and she just presented herself in such a nice way. And I was like, this is nice, whatever, you know? So then, you know, fast forward, we're doing the first training for these products, and she did a facial on someone. And I was like, wow, I was in love. I could not believe how amazing she was. And so, you know, from that moment, I was like, this is what I need to do. So that was like that light bulb went on when I was like, this is what I need to be doing. So like, she was my mentor for a long time. I ended up working with the company after a few years of doing facials and body treatments and stuff. And then, you know, you move on to the next phase, right? And then you have other mentors. I mean, there was definitely a point where I was in between. I had moved from Tampa to Miami, and I didn't have a mentor. I didn't have anyone. I was kind of like wandering lost until I went back to school for nursing. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And working in Miami definitely opened my eyes to, because I'd been working with my family for so many years. You know, I was like, people don't pay, you know, like you'd work and like you wouldn't get paid, or like you have to chase people. Or I was like, I can't do this. Like I need a job, like a reliable, dependable income, right? Because I'm by myself. I'm not like married. I don't have like a rich parents that are going to provide for me. So I had to kind of like figure things out. And I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm going to go back to nursing school. So that's how that happened. And then, you know, obviously like went through nursing school, and there was some professors and people that were definitely like mentors for me. But then when I graduated and I got my first job as a nurse in the hospital, I had a preceptor, a nurse, and she was amazing. And actually, ironically, came to train with me like a couple of years ago, like 2 years ago, to do Botox and fillers. So it's funny how things kind of come full circle, right?
Yeah.
And we have just such an admiration for each other. But it was funny because when I worked in the hospital, everyone was like, you don't belong here. I'm like, I definitely don't belong here.
But
I was like, it's so bad. I was like, just get me out of here. But yeah, but you know, throughout that time, like she was my mentor. I would come to her for anything. And then once I finished and I was like, you know, nurse practitioner, and like, you know, I did a training, and then I found other mentors that, you know, it has to be someone that you know, you look up to, you respect their opinion, and they are also equally able to mentor you, right? Because you can like look up to someone, but they're not in that space to mentor you.
Mm-hmm.
You have to find someone who's also open to that.
Yeah.
So,
And I look at, like mentoring is like choosing your teachers of a certain area of life. And I think like you said, because I get a lot of people like, well, how do I know like who to bring on as a mentor? And I think you described it beautifully. Like, find somebody that inspires you, that you want to be like.
Yeah.
And you know that they're gonna actually like take you under their wing. They're gonna like look out for you. They're gonna help fast track you and get you to where they are like a lot faster.
Yeah, and it's not like a competition of any kind. They're open to. That's what I'm saying. Like some people are not open to that. They don't want you to get to where they are. You know what I mean? It's more of a competitive thing where there's some people who want you to be with them. You know, they find that more empowering. So those are the people that I kind of gravitate towards, because those are the people that I find that are like myself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they want to mentor you. They want you to come with them. Like even the girls that work with me, you know, I always try to encourage them. I'm like, go back to school, take this class. Like, you know, the more knowledge you have, the more valuable you are. That's like been always my philosophy, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm always trying to encourage them to do things like that. They don't listen to me, but no one listens, but I try.
Well, I mean, I don't know.
They have to figure it out on their own. You know, there's a certain point where you can be someone's like kind of a mentor, but then you just let them go and be like, all right, well, it's your time to make your decision.
Yeah, because it's the one thing too, is it's like, it's not to be pacified. It's just that, you know, you have to have your own experiences. And like you said, like you have, from just hearing you, I was like, wow, that's why I love bringing women like yourself on, because I'm constantly like learning and seeing the similar patterns. Like, wow, like the moments where we think we're the only ones, like, no, like that is part of the journey. And it's just, there are certain traits or certain core values in order to achieve heightened levels of success. Like it's inside here, and then the business, the relationships, the XYZ, like those are just extensions of who you are being.
Yeah.
Speaking of relationships.
What?
Now, single, you and I were laughing about this the other day. I mean, I don't know if you're single or not. We weren't laughing about that, you guys. But I was laughing about like, yeah, I'm the forever aunt. You're like, yeah, me too.
Yeah, same.
So how are you, what is your status? Because I do get this questions a lot. And when I do my mastermind and I mentor like my clients, you know, I have a lot of single people or people that are, you know, getting out of toxic relationships because they do want to reach a heightened level of success in their business. But I do consider that to be a distraction if you're not clear on what you want. What is your insight as far as like, are you single? I didn't even ask you.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. What is your insight as far as like being selective and intentional when choosing even to go on a date?
Oh, Lord Jesus. So much better at business than dating. What? Yeah, dating life. They hear all my stories.
Mine is non-existent because I haven't found anybody like that has interested me enough to stop my projects to spend even an hour or 2 or 3 with them.
Yeah, I mean, I have been single. I'm like forever single and the forever aunt, I guess.
Let's not claim that though.
No. I'm saying like I have been single for so many years at this point. I'm just like, I don't even know. This is me. I think that you know, it's hard because I need to find a guy who is a support. I need to find a man who's supportive, right? Of like my business. And a lot of men that I meet, they're kind of like, they don't want that. They want a woman who is not really working, doesn't have a serious career, that is just gonna be able to drop whatever they're doing and do whatever they want. You know what I mean? Like that's not something that's like a deal breaker for me, right? Mm-hmm. Like you have to be a supportive man that is successful on your own, and I want to learn things from a man that I meet. So it has to be somebody like a mutually beneficial relationship, and it's hard to find that in Miami because you have a lot of men who they don't want that. They want like someone maybe a little younger in age that's like, you know, doesn't have anything serious. Like I said, you can just take off and go to Greece for a month and like it's not a serious thing, right? Like I obviously can't do that. So I'm looking for.
I don't even think though you'd want to. I mean,
no, I wouldn't. I mean, listen, I'm not saying I wouldn't like that. You know, but it's just not realistic. You know, for me, I've always been a very driven person, And I need someone who also is driven. You know, I want to meet someone who inspires me to do more. Someone who shares the same values that I do. And it's like hard to kind of find, because people don't walk around with labels on their forehead, right? So you don't know what you're getting into until you're, let's say, on a few dates, and then you're like, wait, do I even like this person? I don't know. You said that you don't really go on a lot of dates. It's hard. I mean, I think also, like, during COVID, I didn't go on any date. That was like 2 years of no dates. Like, that's crazy, right? Or like a year and a half of no dates. I'm not like close to it. I really just feel like when I meet him, I'll know.
Yeah.
That's like really how I feel.
Yeah.
I don't go out of my way to find like men. I'm just really waiting for one to just show up at my door. So
knock, knock. knock, knock, knock. Hello, or
you never know.
You know what? I feel the biggest thing that I guess to complement the question and your answer, a lot of times, like, women and men have a hard time being by themselves. And therefore they'll, like, remember we talked about like the escape when you're in, you know, your personal on the side to escape into your client, your work. I feel like people even use dating as an escape. And the only thing is, it's like, at least you're pouring back and investing in your future with like your kind of work versus in something else where you're like,
I don't find like dating to me is like literally torture. I don't think that I would find that as a distraction or like a pleasant distraction. I try to avoid going on dates. I literally will find any excuse to not go on a date. So that would not be me.
What do you think about romancing yourself? Because this is the thing people don't think about. Like, I'm in a season of self-romancing. Like,
what does that mean?
That means like taking myself out to dinner on my own and getting dressed up. I learned this from one of my friends. Like, just get dressed up for yourself. Like, every day's an event. Like, go, if you want to go golfing, like, go on a mini putt-putt golf. Like, why do you have to wait for somebody to try to take you somewhere?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely something that I've been doing for years. I mean, I have friends who are like, oh, I always wanted to go to Paris, but I was waiting for a guy to take me. I'm like, if I waited for a guy to take me, I'd still never go. You know what I mean? So I just do everything myself. Do I get dressed up and go to dinner by myself? Probably not, because I'm way too lazy for that.
Well, you're also working all day long. I'm literally in my home working from home. So for me, you're actually with people all day long. So
so I need to like decompress from people. Actually, it's funny, but I always thought I was a very social person. And then recently, maybe in the last year, I'm like, I really don't like being around people. My friends, yes, but I'm not like, I don't like to go out and socialize. It almost like stresses me out. So that's like a new thing for me. I never had that, or I never thought about it. I always was like, oh, I like going out, I like meeting people. And then I was like, no, I don't. I don't even know why I thought that. But yeah, I'm always, you know, romancing myself, I guess you can say. But yeah, I'm almost like to the point where if you're not offering, like, what are you offering me? If you're not offering me anything, I don't even want to like associate with you. Like, even as friends, you know, like people that I associate with as, you know, professionally or personally, like, you know, and it doesn't mean that you have to give me anything, but it's just like, what are you offering? Like, why am I going to waste my Saturday hanging out with you, right? Like, we don't have a lot of time to socialize. So, like, it has to be people that I really want to socialize with if I'm going to do it.
And that
keep the circle small.
Yeah, that's exactly perfect, because I wanted to ask you too about friends, and as you continue to climb and as you continue to set new goals and, you know, up level yourself, your life, what is the process like when because a lot of times people have a hard time letting go of friendships that just aren't in alignment anymore. Like, do you have a certain system that you use?
No, I mean, I think you just like naturally, it just fades, you know? You can always tell who your real friends are when, you know, there's something going on and they're not showing up for you. So, you know, I keep like kind of almost like a mental tally in my mind of like, okay, this person has shown up for me, this person hasn't shown up for me. Like, all right, I'm gonna reach out to them and see, do they want to meet up? I want to kind of get a vibe and see, like, are we still connected? You know?
Mhm.
And if not, then that's fine. It's almost like, breaking up with a romantic partner or something. Like, if you're not still vibing and you're not on the same page, like, you don't need to continue that. Like, we don't have a lot of free time. So, like, I have a very small circle of my friends and, like, the girls that are in the office, and, like, those are the people that I hang out with, and my dad, and now I'm an aunt, so I have to kind of, like, spread myself around. Yeah. So, like, I now my priority is a little different. Like, if I have a weekend off, I'm gonna want to go visit my nephew. So, if for even for a romantic situation, right? Like, I need someone who is a family oriented person that wants to come with me to visit, or is understanding that I have, other priorities. Otherwise, it's not going to work out.
Yeah, I mean, that's important because I think a lot of time, I mean, when I talk to certain people, they're like, well, how do I transition out of this? It's like, just invite people as you're growing and expanding, seeing who kind of wants to be part of that journey. And there's those that aren't. But one thing, like during COVID, some people were really like controversial on this.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, well, they're not showing up for me. I'm like, because they are probably just figuring out how to show up for themselves right now. Everybody's going through something.
Or there, a lot of people who are very, like, there are people that I haven't seen since COVID, that we still kind of interact on Instagram and stuff, but, I don't know, are we still good friends? Probably not. We're more like acquaintances now, but it wasn't anything that, like, purposeful, like, nothing happened specifically, but it was just like, you grow apart.
Yeah.
Fine. Things happen in your life, like, people get married, people, like, have kids, you know what I mean? Like I've definitely noticed that, my friends that got married and had a baby, we don't see each other as much because they don't have free time, which is fine. Like, I wouldn't say, like, oh, we're not friends anymore because I don't see them and they don't call me. They have other priorities, and I understand that,
Like,
but,
they have, like, having other priorities, because I feel like that's what happens in life. Like, is your part of your business? Is it the family? And then interests change, and you're like, it's okay to change.
Right. But then you have those friends, and I'm sure you have them too, that you cannot speak to this person for, like, months, and then you just instantly, like, see them, and you're just like you never left each other. You know what I mean? Like, that's like one of my best friends that forced me to go to NP school. She's like that. She got married, she had a baby. We're at different places in our lives right now, but we're still, like, so we love each other so much, and we're so connected, and like, she's actually coming to the office on Thursday. She came and took a class with me, so, like, we're definitely, but I don't see her, I don't talk to her a lot, but we definitely try to keep in touch as much as we can. But there's an effort from both sides, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that's important.
You're right, because I had one of my girlfriends from college. She was, as in a sorority, she was my big in the sorority, and the dynamic and the chemistry that we have, like, and she's got 2 babies. She's an anesthesiologist. She's an entrepreneur, and she came down to Fort Lauderdale. It's still an hour drive, but I did make time, and I did. You're right. Will make time for the people that are important to you. Those are facts.
But that's what you say about, a romantic situation, right? If for example, for me, if the man is not putting any effort, why am I going to put effort? Like, I don't know what's happening in the world today, but, like, I almost feel like the man should be putting the effort first.
Yeah.
I'm a very old-fashioned kind of person. I was born in the 70s. I need a man to act a certain way, and that's another problem. I think, like, in this day and age, the opposite sex is very confused. They don't know what they're supposed to be doing or what they're not supposed to be doing. They don't want to offend you. Like,
I feel like a lot of people
crazy
are confused right now, and that's why I wanted to have this show to, bring, like, and all we need is just, like, one and just a handful. You don't need, like, unless you're, like,
oh yeah, for sure. I mean, the circle gets smaller and smaller as you get older too. It's like, I don't have time for you.
Yeah. And I always feel like, I always, like, like, because people say that, like, this and that. I was like, all I need is one. And I know if I'm created and I'm here and I'm one, then I know that there's another one. Like, and I think that's something that keeps me going, is I'm like, I exist. Hello. I'm amazing.
Yeah.
Same thing.
I saw this. I don't remember his name, but he was giving a talk about, you know, who you should date, like, as yourself, like, who do you look for to date? And he was like, you just need to find yourself and the opposite sex or the same sex or whatever. Like people like to date a version of themselves. So if that's what you're looking for,
well, sometimes we need to first be on our own to heal, and that was actually my journey the last year, because I was like, whoa, what am I attracting? Because something that I learned, I did like a lot of shadow work and then subconscious stuff, and it was literally like that was an external expression of what I was internally suppressing and go, oh God,
yeah,
I need to clean some things up inside myself.
Because you see, like, I have like all these accounts that I somehow follow, I don't even know how, and it's like you know, your childhood and the way that your parents act towards you is totally, you know, there's such a direct correlation with who you attract and like how you conduct your relationships and your boundaries, right? And like all these things, I'm like, wow,
yeah,
where was this 10 years ago? Like,
yeah.
what?
And that's the thing
I
too.
can't believe it.
Yeah, and even in like any relationship, it's like everything is inside of us of what we're bringing or attracting or what we're not receiving, because it's just that we're trained optimists, and we haven't allowed ourselves to explore the depth and the core of what's going inside of us so that we can like bring it to the surface and clean it up. And so I think it's important to even have a season of really getting to like clean up, like deep cleaning inside of us. Because I definitely don't want to try that ever again in my life. That's for sure. I promise.
I'm with you.
That what?
No, I said I'm with you.
Yeah. I promised your team that I would make sure that we were like on time. Like your girls were like, okay, well, she has to be done like on time. So if you were to say like the most powerful thing for people watching today, because we're going to save this for those watching replay and those are on live, that would really be a game changer for them to take with them if they're looking to really just build themselves, get to know who they, you know, how do I say this correctly? Just like become a better version of themselves. What would that one piece of advice be that you think that they can take with them on a day-to-day basis that will make an impact in their life?
I mean, something that I always keep in mind for myself is, you know, people always ask, you know, what is your biggest fear in life? And my biggest fear is standing still, right? So I think to myself, like, you have to just keep moving forward, regardless of what is going on. It's almost like what they teach you in theater, right? If your shoe falls off, you just keep going, right? So my advice is you just keep going. You just keep, you know, funneling through, fighting your fight, whatever it is that you have to do to get to the point that you want to get to. You have to be clear about your goals, set your goals, be clear about them, write them down, you know, look at them, reassess. I think that that's really important if you're trying to get somewhere in life. You know, you're not just going to get there blindly. So that would be definitely, you know, my biggest advice is just keep going. Don't stand still. Don't listen to people, you know, you don't have to tell everybody what you're doing. You know, you just keep it to yourself. And you just keep your eye on the prize.
Which actually cycles back from the very beginning of our talk.
Yeah.
Of how you were able to get to the point you are today.
Yeah. That's definitely my life. What is it? What is it called? My motto. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much for being on Minding My Business. And you guys, we are going to save this series. So if you're tapping in late or if you're watching the replay, make sure to comment below the biggest golden nugget that you got out of today's show. And make sure that you give Limor some love. She also has her mentorship coming up. Is it coming up or did it already start?
It's coming up. We're still working on the details of it.
Amazing. So thank you so much. In the meantime, remember to elevate your business, your mindset, and your life. And we will see you guys next Tuesday at 2 p.m. Bye.
Thanks for having me on, Tanya.
Thank you so much.
See you later.
See you later. Bye.
Bye.